All right. We're going to talk about the golden day. And obviously, because the class is rooted in Jim Crow 2.0 and Ellison's Invisible Man, we are talking about segregation as a structure, but the structure, important to recognize that the structure is defeated by the civil rights movement, and that this structure seemed like a zombie to have risen again 2016 to 2026. We can make claims outside of that time period and find justified evidence as well. What was it? The reason why we're going back to understand it is because we need to know what it was and how it was defeated, so we can be sure of what it is and how it can be defeated. If we just say it's Jim Crow 2.0, man, that is not accurate. We need to define its entrails. If it is to be defeated, we have to understand it. Ellison reveals inferiority, which gives us a greater understanding of what segregation is. Not just the laws and the ideas, but the ethos, logos, and pathos, the ethics, the philosophy, and the emotion. And all of these serve as a personal and societal heuristic. A social heuristic, which is defined as self-discovery, the word heuristic means self-discovery, about segregation, also is given to us by multiple African-American authors. James Baldwin. His question, why does society need me to be an N-word? That should tell us something about the nature of segregation. Morrison, her question, if you remove race, what would you be? Are you still smart? Are you still beautiful? Are you still able? Morrison's text, her new text, I suggest you purchase this. It's a brilliant book, Language is Liberation. She says that American literature created a fictive Africanist presence that defines Black folks as secondary savage to illuminate the whiteness or white people as primary and civilized. The example is the Lone Ranger. You've heard of the Lone Ranger? Okay. The Lone Ranger is the quintessential American cowboy, and he's the hero, and he wears the white hat. And what we learn about the Lone Ranger is that he's not alone. He's always with Tonto. The show is called The Lone Ranger. But what's interesting is that it probably should be called The Lone Ranger and Tonto Show. Why? Because Tonto was there all the time, feeding this dude, fighting for this dude. You understand what I'm saying? Scoping the territory. He's his companion, but he's not even mentioned. It's just the Lone Ranger. What is that? Morrison says that the dark presence, right, of Tonto defines the outline of the hero, the Lone Ranger, which is why he's called the Lone Ranger. If we were to simply accurately establish it, it could be, in the title of whatever the show that he's playing on, The Lone Ranger and Tonto, or just the Ranger, but he'd never be the Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger signifies this idea of being a self-made man. There are no self-made men. None. Not one, because we live in a society, right? But one particular, oligarch types establish this idea of being, right, again, the Lone Ranger. What they're saying is, I got this by myself because I'm so inquisitive and wise and smart and intelligent and wealthy. And one look under the cover and we see that this person is never alone. They inherited their money from their daddy. Their daddy worked in South Africa doing apartheid. It's just ridiculous. How you not alone? Nowhere. But to keep that mythology, right, of this dominant figure, we must tell these fictive realities. So segregation as a system is not about, in the end conclusion, Black inferiority. This is a key statement. Segregation is not about Black inferiority. It looks like it's about Black inferiority.